Nathaniel is 15, a frustrated teenager who is unable to find any solace to his dilemma. He was average in everything. 5 feet 6 inches tall, 130 pounds, wet brown hair, green eyes, an average student that did not like sports and did not join any clubs in school. Nondescript and unassuming, he had managed to hide himself from the world, yet stay in plain sight. As his mother, I am worried about him because I could not figure out why he was so shy. After my husband Howard and my daughter Jane were killed in an auto accident, Nathaniel seemed to retreat into himself even more, and no matter what I tried, nothing worked. I never had a clue what was bothering him until I went into his room to clean up a bit, something I rarely did, and found several pages of stuff he had printed from the internet. I read them, and all at once I understood. All of the signs were there, but since I did not know what they were, I missed them. I had to think about it for a while before I decided what to do. Luckily, my brother Matt was there to fill in as a surrogate dad for Nate. My name is Gail Grant, I'm 35, Nathaniel's mother. I grew up when all sorts of people were coming out of the closet about different things, including crossdressing. In fact, one of my high school classmates had gone through the entire process, had the surgery, and is now a woman. On Friday, I called her to ask for advice, and she told me to confront the issue with him, maybe even help him become a girl for a short time, maybe a weekend. Jill merely confirmed what I wanted to do, and while Nathaniel was at school, I set about making it possible. My name is Nathaniel, and all my life I had an irresistible urge, like an itch that you can't scratch. The more I ignored it, the more it itched. I knew what it was, of course. I had always known. I wanted to dress and live as a girl. When I was just starting into high school, I set out to find a way to make my dreams come true. Since I had felt this way all of my life, I knew that I had to at least try it. About the same time, Mom began to take estrogen tablets. From my research on the internet, I was pretty sure that I knew what the effects would be, and began taking one of Mother's estrogen pills every day. I was 14 at the time. I didn't notice any changes right away. In fact, it was almost a year before I noticed anything happening at all, but when the changes did start, they seemed to happen almost at once. As hard as I tried, I was unable to ignore the changes that were happening to my body. That's because by the middle of the second term, I had developed full, but small breasts. I had wider, rounded hips, and my skin was hairless and silky smooth. My body had changed so much that I had to wear baggy clothes to hide my new figure. In fact, one Friday after school, Mom told me to follow her to my room, and that's when she told me she knew what was bothering me. She told me directly that she knew about my fantasy to become a girl, then she asked me to strip so she could help me become the girl of my dreams. Pleading with her did no good at all, my denials falling flat when she held up some papers on my desk. I knew that denying it was no longer possible. My biggest fear was what she would say when she saw my boobs. When my jeans hit the floor, it was obvious that I had panties on, but Mom said nothing. In fact, she didn't do anything at all. Then she made a twirly motion with her hand, and I reluctantly removed my shirt. For the first time, I displayed my breasts to someone else. They were very nicely pert and firm, full with the roundness of youth, at least a full a cup, and obviously, they did not belong on the chest of a 15-year-old boy. It was also obvious that I had a narrower waist, my panties fitting me more like they would a normal female. I heard her quickly draw in a breath. "I want to tell me about this, Nathaniel." I plopped on the bed, and let my soul pour out to her, hiding nothing, until, at last, I collapsed into her arms, ashamed, humiliated, and afraid of what she would say. "When I found out what was bothering you the other day, I was going to help you become a girl for the weekend. Now it looks like we'll certainly have to get you the right undergarments. You're big enough now to need a bra all of the time, and you will certainly need several outfits." I knew she was right, of course, but her saying I needed to wear a bra all of the time implied that I would be dressing as a girl a lot more than occasionally, and that quickly brought my fear to my face. When I asked the obvious question, why, all she said was that with the growth of breast I already had, and my figure, it was a foregone conclusion. With the development you already have, you need to wear a bra all of the time now, and you know it. Her saying that was scary enough, yet wearing feminine clothes in front of anyone, including my mother, was something I did not want to consider. I bought a few things for you today. If you want me to, I'll help you change. I nodded my head yes, and she told me to shower, wash my hair, and if you need it, shave as close as possible. I returned naked except for the towel around my middle. After drying off, under Mom's direction, I powdered up, followed her to her room, and sat at the vanity while she put over a dozen rollers in my hair using a setting gel, and then did my makeup. I watched her as she used the subtle colors that I liked, a soft mint green and plum, with deep black eyeliner and mascara, and a soft coral blusher. I slipped on the new bra she had bought, which turned out to be the right size, and teasing her, I fluffed my breasts to make them look fuller. None of that, young lady. Grinning, I sat on the bed and pulled on the pantyhose. Mom handed me a blouse, then the skirt, and had me step into the new shoes she handed me. I looked in the mirror and saw her for the very first time, not in my dreams, but in the flesh. My shoulders were accented by the ruffled sleeves of the blouse. The collar was white with lace trim that accented the pink and white design of the blouse. It was a simple round neck collar, which I buttoned up easily. Mom had guessed my measurements pretty well. The skirt was a light pink that seemed to cling to my waist, accentuating the shape of my hips, and then stopped about 2 inches above my knees. With the short, white heels on, I saw that I had nicely shaped legs, which made me smile. We're not done yet, Nathaniel. Come sit down. Mom took out the rollers and brushed out my hair, creating a very feminine style for me. I had a high fluffy top with curls cascading down the back and bangs that swept to one side. Then she fastened a delicate locket around my neck with a nearly invisible gold chain. Gold button earrings went in my ears and a dash of perfume on my wrists. Mom looked me over very carefully, then I got the look. You know the one. It's the one all mothers have when they're about to let their daughter go out on her first real date. She gave me a very slow once-over before she spoke to me. Well, I have to say, you look a lot more than just presentable. You look very pretty, Nathaniel. Let's sit on the patio and talk. We poured some iced tea and sat at the shaded table. How long have you been taking my pills? Since I was 14, I guess. Well, from what I know about it, those boobs of yours are there to stay, and even if you quit taking the pills, they might even get bigger anyway. I'll make an appointment for you to see the doctor, but if I'm right, then I can't see any way that you can continue living as a boy, do you? I've managed so far, Mother. True, but if you get any bigger in the bust and hips, you won't be able to hide your shape, and then what? Have you thought about any of this? Shaking my head no, I told her that I never expected my body to change so much, let alone so soon. Mom just sat and looked at me for a few minutes, then asked me if I had a name for the girl I looked like. Not really, Mom. I never gave it any thought at all. Okay, how about Jennifer? It would have been your name if you had been born a girl. Jennifer Marie has a nice ring to it, I think, and it's not at all like Nathaniel. Okay, Mom, I like Jennifer. Now all we have to do is figure out how we're going to break the news to your Uncle Matt and your grandparents. I was ready to go back to my room and change clothes, but Mom wouldn't let me. I think that the time has come for you to meet the world. I bought those clothes using my best guess, and even though they fit you well enough, you'll need a few more outfits, and certainly more panties and bras. Just stay dressed for now. I'll call your Uncle Matt and we will tell them together. It wasn't my first choice, but then she didn't ask me. Just then Uncle Matt walked in, saw us on the patio, and walked out to meet us. He took one look at me and smiled. After he sat down, he asked me if I was dressed because of something at school. Mom looked at me, and I knew she wanted me to tell him, so I drew in a deep breath and sank a bit deeper into my chair. No, Uncle Matt, it's not for something at school. He knew I wasn't that active in the church, and I didn't belong to any clubs, and as I watched him run all of this through his mind, I knew he would figure it out. You mean that you did this on your own? Mom gave me another look, and I let it all out. Uncle Matt, I've always felt like this. This is the real me. His eyes narrowed and his mouth turned down, then he turned to my mother and started in on her. You did this to him. This is a joke, right? No, Matt, it's not. Jenny started taking my estrogen pills without telling anyone, and she developed the body of a girl her own age. In fact, except for one thing, she looks a lot like your sister Mary at the same age. He turned purple, then a red, and finally, he told Mom that he wanted me to see a doctor. I planned on that already, but for now, we all have to find a way to accept Jenny just as she is. Uncle Matt was angry at her, at me, and I think he still thought it was some kind of joke. That night I was told to stay as Jenny until bedtime. I felt like a fish out of water around Uncle Matt, but while he really couldn't do anything about it, it still made me edgy. I stayed home from school the next day, and in the morning Mom had me get dressed in the same skirt and blouse, then helped me with my hair. I did my own makeup. After breakfast, we went to see the family doctor. When I stepped out of the house I knew for sure that no matter what the doctor said, someone was going to be very unhappy, maybe even me. It was a short drive, and I was so nervous that Mom had to take my arm when we walked into his office. The nurse had known me since I was born, and she did not recognize me. "We need to see the doctor, Evelyn. I'm sorry, we don't have an appointment, but it is a bit urgent. Is this for you or?" She looked at me and Mom said, "Jenny needs to see him." Since they had just opened, he took me into the examination room in 10 minutes. Dr. Benson had delivered me when I was born, and now, here I was, sitting on his table, my knees pressed together just as hard as I could, to stop the shaking. "Who do we have here?" "This is Nathaniel, doctor. He started taking my estrogen pills almost a year ago, and it was only yesterday that I saw the changes the pills had caused, and made him dress the part. Now we need you to tell us what to do." He simply looked at me, then told my mother that he would do a complete physical and blood workup. The exam took almost an hour, and it was the most complete physical I had ever had. Before Mom came back in the room, he asked me a lot of questions, which I answered as truthfully as possible. "Well, we have a dilemma here. Let me get your mother." He didn't waste any time telling me how stupid I was, then he explained things for us. "Except for the penis, what we have here is a fully developed girl about 14 or 15 years old. Because she started the hormones at such an early age, her voice did not change and she has started the onset of a normal puberty, for a female that is. I can't find anything particularly unhealthy about her, but there are some other items I need to tell you. Even if she quit taking the pills today, she would probably experience more hip and breast development, and even if she started on male hormones, there is serious doubt about her regaining the ability to get and maintain an erection, or even if she would develop like a normal boy. The breast development might become a bit less, but she would always have breasts that would be noticeable, and her hips will certainly remain the same size. Her voice probably will not change due to the age she started taking the pills. Her male puberty was interrupted, and as soon as she started female puberty, her voice quit changing. All in all, it's probably better to let me put her on a hormone dosage that is better suited for her, and let her continue to dress and live as a female." My mother gasped and sat down while I just sat there. "She'll have to have some electrolysis to remove the remaining vestiges of the beard, but I'm willing to bet that within a few months she will be just like any other girl her age. I can also make it look like she has female genitalia if you like." "You won't remove it, right?" "No removal. Just a bit of folding and a minor surgical procedure to move her urethra to the right place for a female. Maybe an hour. I might as well do it right now. It'll help her adjust." That's what happened, and I left the office looking like a girl. Silent, Mom watched as he wrote out a prescription for me, and gave her the name of someone good to remove my beard. Mom took the prescription, and we left. It looks like I was right. Now all we have to do is tell your Uncle Matt. We drove for a bit, then Mom stopped the car. "You have to finish this school term as Nathaniel, of course, then we will have all summer for this transition to Jenny. In the meantime, you'll have to have some clothes to wear, so let's get you some bras and a few skirts and maybe a dress." Without another word we went to the mall where I was introduced the art of buying clothes. Mom was the typical mother, I guess, and I'm sure that buying girls' clothes for me was not such a big leap for her. I liked the shorter styles of course since that was what a lot of the girls in school wore, but she insisted on a more modest length of hemline, and the 2 skirts and 1 dress we bought came to just above my knees. In the lingerie department she borrowed a tape measure, and I was introduced to bra fitting. In the end we bought 3, one kind of plain and white, one that was peach with a bit of lace trim, and one white one that was thin, seamless, and trimmed in a pale blue lace. I also got a dozen pair of panties, in plain white, all cotton. Since I only had 1 pair of shoes, we bought a pair of flats and a better pair of black patent leather heels. Once we got home I hung everything in the closet or put it away, and Mom and I had a small lunch. Do you have any idea how terrible this is going to be? For you, and us? I can't believe that you did this. Mother was angry and hurt, and all I could say was that this is what I wanted, but when I tried to explain it to her I knew she did not understand. You think being a female is going to be fun? It's not just like being a man but dressed differently. We cook, clean, bear the children and then raise them. People judge you by the way you keep house, dress, and on top of all of that, you have a husband to contend with. His likes and dislikes, being able to let him make the decisions, and then going along with it. I knew she wasn't done, and didn't say anything. When you go back to school as girl, and the kids find out, you will be teased, harassed, and maybe even physically hurt. Some won't care, some will ignore you, and some will want to hurt you. The boys won't want to be with you because they want to date a girl, and the girls might not want you around them because they might view you as competition. And that is just for starters. She sipped her drink, watching me the whole time. What about the rest of the family? Your grandparents might try to understand, but what about your cousin Fred? You know he's into that skinhead stuff. Mom took my hand in hers and wiped away a tear that had run down my cheek with the other. No matter what happens, Jenny, we love you and will try to protect you, but your Uncle Matt is going to have a very hard time with this, so be patient, and try to let what he says roll off. Why can't I just strap my boobs down and continue like I am? I've been doing that for over a month or so now, and nobody has found out yet. I know, dear, but how do we explain a girl on the weekends and a boy during the week? Besides that, having 2 wardrobes will be very confusing, and I'm certain that your Uncle Matt and I would rather have you one way or the other, not switching back and forth. That would be harder on all of us. On top of all that, what if someone dropped by on the weekends and you were dressed? The cat would be out of the bag, so to speak, and it would all come out anyway. No, I think that starting right after school lets out, you will become Jenny full-time, and in the fall, you'll just have to find a way to handle whatever comes along because we can't afford a private school for you. She made it clear enough, so clear that I began to wonder why I started taking the pills, but then, I knew that becoming a girl was right for me, and told her I would do the best I could. For the next few months Mom would spend an hour a day teaching me how to do my hair in several different styles, how to do makeup, walk, sit, and use my hands. It was tedious, boring, and sometimes funny, but I had to do this if I ever wanted an even chance in the fall. Uncle Matt talked to me, of course, but he was somewhat distant, and once in a while I would catch a glimpse of his anger at me. On the 3rd weekend I had dressed carefully and was as feminine as I could be. I wanted to tell Uncle Matt how I felt, and I knew that the only way he would ever accept me was if I was female enough to force the issue. I didn't tell Mom. I had the barest makeup, a full, pleated skirt and a blouse, my short heels, with pink lipstick and perfume on when I went into his den and closed the door. Uncle Matt, we have to talk. He sat back and looked at me, his eyes searching for some sign of the boy I used to be. When he said nothing I did. You think that this is something I just thought up? Mom was right when she said I would face derision, hate, and maybe physical injury by doing this, and yet here I am, all dressed up. This is just as hard on me as it is you, Uncle Matt, maybe even more. I'm the one that has to endure the taunts, and at the same time learn how to be as much a lady as Mom is. I know what I did was stupid, but I had to take the pills. If it wasn't now, it would have been later, and how hard would it be then? I love you, Uncle Matt, but all I want is for you to try and understand, at least a little. He just sat there staring at me, so I got up and started to leave. Jennifer. I turned and he sat upright. I did not tell you that you could leave. Please sit down. It was the first time he had called me Jennifer. You are absolutely right about my not understanding why you did this, or why you feel you have to dress as a girl. But you are my sister's child, and also my favorite, and I will not let anyone hurt you in any way if I can stop it. As for taking those hormone pills, that was stupid and dangerous, and you know it. I thought the three of us had an agreement, Jenny. No matter what, we could say what was bothering us and we could talk about it. That's what bothers me the most, Jenny. You didn't trust us to help you understand the way you feel. I love you and would never hurt you, and I can even accept the fact that I now have a niece. What I cannot and will not accept is deceit. He was angry, hurt, and I was the cause of it. Uncle Matt, can we start over? As a Uncle Matt and niece? When his arms reached out for me, I jumped into his arms and held him tight, my tears staining his shirt. We're going out to dinner tonight, Jenny. You better go clean up and change. I went to my room and quickly undressed and jumped into the shower. My hair was squeaky clean and my skin almost glowed from the scrubbing I gave it. I used the scented body powder and slipped on some panties before I pulled on the panty brief. I had become adept at doing my hair and quickly had the rollers in. Then I did my makeup using as little as possible, with soft muted shades on my eyes. The eyeliner was a deep black, however, because it made my face seem more open. I slipped the peach-colored bra on and then the pantyhose, and took the pleated tan skirt out of the closet. I picked a pink and white blouse and put them on, making sure that the skirt was as high up on my waist as I could get it so more of my legs showed. The pink heels, purse, and pink and gold jewelry were next. Then I took the rollers out and brushed my hair out, using pink and gold barrettes to hold my hair away from my face. I drew on the soft red lipstick, gave myself a spritz of perfume and walked back into Uncle Matt's office. Mom was there, all dressed up, and Uncle Matt had a suit on. They looked at me and I felt like a bug stuck on the wall. You look very nice, Jenny. Plan on catching a boy? There was humor in his eyes when he asked me that, but to get him back I said, why not? I'm pretty enough, ain't I? Of course you are. But be careful what you ask for, you might get it. After that, Uncle Matt drove us to his club, something that I did not count on. I'm an only child, and everyone at the club knows that, so when they showed up with me, a girl, the obvious connection is that the girl they'll see would be my mother's son Nathaniel. They didn't ask me, and I had no say in the matter. All I could do was follow them in, sit at the table, and try to be as feminine as I could. Twice during dinner Uncle Matt was asked, and he introduced me as his niece Jennifer, and several times I heard a choked "but I thought you had a nephew" before they walked away. After dinner the band started to play, and Mom and Uncle Matt were dancing when I felt a hand on my elbow. "Excuse me, would you like to dance?" I turned and saw Mike Wilson, a friend I had known since we started school. He had to know who I was. "I'd like that, thank you." He took my hand and led me to the dance floor. He held me tightly in his arms and I could smell his aftershave. "You look real nice." "My name is Mike Wilson, what's yours?" "Jenny Grant." "Jenny Grant, are you related to Nate?" When Mom and I talked about this happening she told me to be honest. If a boy was interested in me, or knew me, I should tell them who I was and let things go where they would. In a way, Mike. I used to be Nate. Now I'm Jenny. You certainly look and smell like a girl, is that true? Michael, would someone say they are not a girl and look like this? No, I guess not. Mike, we have been friends for a long time, can you accept me as a girl now? Sure. Why not? You look a lot better than some of the girls at school, and we already know a lot about each other. Then his grip around my waist tightened and I knew that he had accepted me. Later, as we were about to leave, Mike came to our table and asked if he could call me the next day, which made me smile and I said yes, of course. It looks like Jennifer has a suitor, Gail. Maybe it's time for that mother-daughter talk. It's only a phone call, Uncle Matt, relax. His snort told me that he didn't believe that for a minute. That night I lay in bed and wondered why Mike wanted to call me when there were so many real girls available to him. He was tall and nice looking, had good manners and dressed nice. Every girl I knew wanted him to call her, and yet he was calling me. In the morning I wore shorts that I had cut off, which let the cheeks of my butt hang out a bit, a t-shirt and my tennis shoes. Because of the estrogen I now had a very healthy shape, which, after I had been changed by the doctor, was very definitely female. Uncle Matt looked at me and snorted, reminding me that I would have to change if Mike came over. I don't want him thinking you're that kind of girl, Jenny. If he comes over you'll wear a skirt and blouse or jeans and a blouse, but not that, it's indecent. Mom told me essentially the same thing, but I waited for Mike to call before I did anything. Mike called around 1 and asked if he could come over, and I said yes. Then I ran to my room to change, not into a skirt or jeans, but one of the dresses I had bought. It was like a sheath except that it flared at the waist and the hem was mid-thigh on me. It had square neck and 2 straps to hold it up. I put on my black flats and did my lipstick and perfume, finishing just as Mike rang the doorbell. When Uncle Matt saw me he choked a bit because some of my charms were showing at the top of the dress, but Mike just stared until I took his hand and on the way through the kitchen to the patio we grabbed some sodas. I guess it's true, you are Nate. No Mike, it's Jennifer from now on. I'll be going to school in the fall as Jennifer, and it sure would be nice to know I had someone I could count on. He was looking at me strangely and I wondered why, because I was pretty careful when I got dressed. Something wrong? I asked. No, but I'm wondering why I never knew that you wanted to be a girl, after all we've known each other since we started school. Would you tell anybody if it was you? I guess not, but why now? That was a very good question, one I had even wondered about myself. I don't think I could have stood it anymore, Mike. I wanted to be a girl, and started taking some of Mom's estrogen to see what would happen, and all at once I had a body like a girl. I saw our doctor and he told me I might as well become a girl because there was no way I could become a boy again. Since then, I have been dressing as a girl on the weekends. As soon as school lets out I'll become Jenny all of the time from then on. His eyes never left my face except when they drifted to my obvious charms. The junior prom is in 2 weeks. Would you like to go? Before I could answer him, he added, if you're going to school as Jennifer in the fall anyway, why not go to the dance and finish the year as Jennifer? I'd like that, Mike. Yes, I'll go to the dance with you. He held my hand for a minute, and then asked me to walk down to the drugstore with him. I have to get some razor blades before I go home. Want to come? I did, and on the way out I yelled at Uncle Matt that we were walking to the store. I was back within the hour, and then I told Mom and Uncle Matt that Mike had asked me to the prom, and what he said about finishing school as Jenny. A date? Already? Yes, Uncle Matt, a date, but to the junior prom. How do you know this isn't just a way for him to humiliate you in front of the entire school? Because I've known Mike my entire life and he isn't that way, and besides, it wasn't in his eyes. I turned and went to my room before we got into an argument. Uncle Matt was starting to become very protective of me, especially after we had our talk. Mom and I went shopping for just the right prom dress, and even though I wanted something sleek and slinky, tight and revealing, Mom insisted on a more conventional style. But before she and I started looking for a dress, she also insisted that I get fitted for a corselet. In her words, you might as well get used to what we endure to fit into the smallest dress size we can, and besides that, you'll want to be as feminine as possible. As much as I knew she was right, I had no idea just how a corselet worked until I had one on. My waist felt as if it had been cut in two as it pulled my natural 25-inch waist down to 21 inches. My boobs, however, had been pushed up and strained against the cups of the bra, threatening to jump out at any moment, and my hips were now perfect for my new shape. I expected to be able to take it off, but Mom told me to leave it on so that the dress could be fitted correctly. I could walk, talk, and move my arms, but bending was almost out of the question now, and my breathing was a bit labored. Mom, however, told me I would get used to it after a few days, and simply walked into the dress shop. In the end, the dress we bought was a shimmering green satin over 3 layers of crinoline petticoats. The top was a sweetheart style with a single strap that went around my neck with the hem just above my knees. The shoes were coated in silver sequins and my jewelry was white rhinestone earrings with a green stone in the middle set in silver. The necklace was a small pendant with a matching stone. How about some very special panties to go with the dress, Jenny? Great, I said, picking them out myself, Mom saying nothing when she saw them. High cut on the sides with barely enough material to cover half of my butt and a small triangle in front, they were made of green satin to match the dress. I was in heaven and wanted to try on the whole outfit as soon as we got home, so Mom helped me get dressed and then I walked in on Uncle Matt. He stood up like he had been poked, and stared at me. I don't think anyone will confuse you with any boy they know, Jenny. You look wonderful. Smiling, I went back to my room and Mom helped me get undressed. Except for the corselet. You should wear it as often as you can, Jenny, to break it in, or you'll be in pain at the dance and not have a very nice time. I wore the corselet for the next 2 days, finally taking it off so I could go back to school. But each night I wore it to bed and each morning I took it off. My usual appointment to see the doctor was on Saturday, and when I was alone with him I asked him if there was a way to make me look more feminine, down below. I think that with some more very minor modifications to what I have already done we can make you look exactly like a girl. I promise, you'll love it. He asked my mother, and after he explained it, and I begged, she agreed. It took 2 hours, but when I went home I had what looked like a more natural vagina. In 2 days the stitches fell out and there was no sign of any operation because he had used surgical adhesive mostly. No matter how many times I feel myself, I was always amazed at the way the new me felt. Almost the same as before, but better. Mike told me he would be over at 7 on the day of the prom, and that same day I had my first appointment at a beauty salon. I recognized most of the girls there, but none of them gave me a second look and none recognized me. My brown hair was tinted auburn and then styled in a Gibson with sausage curls hanging down the back and sides. My nails were done and painted a soft red, and by the time I left the salon I knew that I was going to look great that night. I took a bubble bath and began to get dressed, starting with those wonderful satin panties. Now that there was no obstruction, they fit me like a glove. Then the pantyhose and my makeup. Mom came in and helped me with the corselet, which now fit easily as my waist had become slightly smaller due to the constant pressure. Nathaniel is 15, a frustrated teenager who is unable to find any solace to his dilemma. He was average in everything. 5 feet 6 inches tall, 130 pounds, wet, brown hair, green eyes, an average student that did not like sports and did not join any clubs in school. Nondescript and unassuming, he had managed to hide himself from the world, yet stay in plain sight. As his mother, I am worried about him because I could not figure out why he was so shy. After my husband Howard and my daughter Jane were killed in an auto accident, Nathaniel seemed to retreat into himself even more, and no matter what I tried, nothing worked. I never had a clue what was bothering him until I went into his room to clean up a bit, something I rarely did, and found several pages of stuff he had printed from the internet. I read them, and all at once I understood. All of the signs were there, but since I did not know what they were, I missed them. I had to think about it for a while before I decided what to do. Luckily, my brother Matt was there to fill in as a surrogate dad for Nate. My name is Gail Grant, I'm 35, Nathaniel's mother. I grew up when all sorts of people were coming out of the closet about different things, including crossdressing. In fact, one of my high school classmates had gone through the entire process, had the surgery, and is now a woman. On Friday I called her to ask for advice, and she told me to confront the issue with him, maybe even help him become a girl for a short time, maybe a weekend. Jill merely confirmed what I wanted to do, and while Nathaniel was at school I set about making it possible. My name is Nathaniel, and all my life I had an irresistible urge, like an itch that you can't scratch. The more I ignored it, the more it itched. I knew what it was, of course. I had always known. I wanted to dress and live as a girl. When I was just starting into high school I set out to find a way to make my dreams come true. Since I had felt this way all of my life, I knew that I had to at least try it. About the same time, Mom began to take estrogen tablets. From my research on the internet I was pretty sure